It's another episode, this time in Poverty Kitchen. We're talking about pans, cast iron pans. All cast iron, all the time. Look at this cast iron bread, maybe making, but $40. But there are those that say that the large ones, although being sort of the consumer cast iron pan, is just fine. It's Goodwill, I guess if you want to call it that, the most basic level. This is consumer thrifting, not even real thrifting. I can nearly completely guarantee we're striking out here. Varying degrees of junk executive. Does my waist need to be slimmed? Amazing. It's yet another kitchen gadget. Exactly what your kitchen needs. More clutter. I do appreciate a good thrift, but there are some things that should not be secondhand. Easily distracted, but we're getting there, I promise. Things are bigger in Texas, including your burgers, or at least in the right section here. Pans exist, but none of... There's a wok, which I guarantee is going to have flake and Teflon. It comes pre-dirty. Yeah, a little bit right there. You can get a ceramic coating on these things. You can get the super cheap, not the cheapest, but that one might be. Super cheap Walmart brand. But once again, it's the same whether it's you're looking for copper or you're looking for actual cast iron, a quality pan, or striked out, because there's nothing here. As always, slim pickings at Goodwill. Our long search is over. Maybe. We're at the other usual suspects, the grill section. Human despot. $25 for a 12-inch large cast iron skillet is a hard deal to beat. Pre-seasoned, I don't know about that. Cast iron, grill, fire, even at the campsite. How versatile. But she's doesn't have a lot of gravity to her like I would expect. This is not an old style cast iron. The thickness isn't there. Seasoned, they say. I don't know about that. Not as thick as I would suspect. Now, when you buy one of these things, you're looking for the mass. That's what holds the heat in. With the mass of this, the problem with these cheap, chintzy, flimsy pans or whatever, you put something on there, the temperature instantly drops and your stove has to heat it back up, or your fire, whatever your heat source is. But with these, has the mass all the way around. That's not too bad for the price. For the price, we're coming out ahead. I mean, $24 for a made-in-America product? A cast iron pan? I don't know if you've done any smelting and you know the work that goes into making these things, but that's a sore dick deal. You can't beat it. Say what you will about these orange guys, the Home Depot, but today they delivered. Or, actually, no, I picked it up, actually. They didn't deliver anything. Maybe it wasn't as good a deal as I thought. 12 inches, $17.88. These are a lot cheaper than I remember. The one I even started making this video. Where's she made, though? Henschel in China. Well, the extra, what, $6-7 I spent? Worth it. Seasoned with the finest natural Chinese oils. Oh, it's getting hot in here. Now, you do have to season these things, and I am one lazy. We're going to go through a proper seasoning, they say. Now, you could spend the time to season it. It comes pre-seasoned. Who likes the first seasoning? The joy of these pans, you don't have to wash them. So I was half inclined to just scrub her down in the sink. Maybe even put her in the dishwasher to get all that factory seasoning off. Excuse me, factory seasoning. It's
tiny bits of vanilla.
Smokedy.
Vanilla.
Making pancakes. Hold
Just
on.
a vanilla.
But the grease that you season it with is also important. This is labeled TB 630, and it's labeled TB because it's actually from the chicken Taco Bell. The chicken formerly named Taco Bell, whom was eaten and then boiled. And then, let's not talk about Taco Bell. But 630, so, and this is actually a mix of grease. We've got bacon grease in there. You got to reuse your grease. Reuse bacon grease. We've got reused Taco Bell grease. We've got reuse, I don't know how many different kinds of oil. I'm counting 4 layers here. Those that say that it takes like 3+ hours to season your pan, it is a whole project and stuff. But I'm using this pan for everything. Yesterday we made grilled cheese on it, or I made grilled cheese on it, with grease, grilled cheese, mayonnaise. So, the joys of a cast iron pan, and the joys of a cast iron pan for me, is that it contains the memories of your food. This stuff is impregnable, and so you put something on it, it's going to go in the pores. It's going to be in there forever. The legacy of your memories and your happy meals. Let's see some hot hot. Hot.
Powdered sugar, please.
I think you guys might be overdoing the...
No, we need powdered sugar.
Okay, messes have been made. I think you're ready. I think it's ready.
No, it needs powdered sugar.
Let's put her down. These are all custom ingredients. We might be going a little hot here. You need the mass here. The temperature will not change when I put this down. It will change very little. Let us see. Try to go in the corner there to see what happens.
Put it all down. We added Nutella, eggs from our chickens, and we added brown sugar and vanilla.
That's going to be more of a donut on that side. Apparently my oven is slightly angled backwards.
Dad, are those pancakes? Now
Wait a
test
minute.
it. Test it.
Look at the expansion. When that looks like it's no longer liquid, it'll be time to flip. Got out of hand here. It burns hot. It cooks differently than a conventional pan because of the mass on it. Yeah, I can't put that much heat into it. Half heat, like that 6 was, is not... It is too much for most things, because it holds the heat better than these other pans. So, you have a thin, flimsy pan on here. That's it. You drop it down, the temperature drops, then your oven is actually heating it. So, at the instant that you drop your food down, instead of getting the shock here, you're getting a slow re-rise in temperature. These just look dark because the pan is dark. That's what we're going with. But look at this texture. This was made for the meats. Meat's back on the menu, boys. Meat never left the menu, but now we can cook it properly. Holds heat so good. This has been off for, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes? Off. The H5 stands for hot. Oh, it doesn't even show you. There it kind of is. That's strange. In my vision, it clearly said H5, which I think means hot stove, right? Hot stove? We're working with late 90s electronics. But Kerrygold butter. We are going to season this right. It calls, we're making cookies as well, I guess. The Kerrygold, the good butter. We're going to be seasoning mint. Kerrygold butter, the good butter. I mean... You got to start off on a good leg here. Now, how it started is this, and how it's going. Some people do their thing in the oven, but we're also making cookies. Maybe I should just toss her in the oven. Speaking of ovens, we are...
Heat oven to 375.
We got giant messes here. This is out of hand.
Them are cookies.
Anyway, quickly, speaking of ovens, this is a big oven, and it's big, and it's a mess. Now, it takes energy to heat this oven, little oven, that we've been using. Now, I had in mind, I'm still working on the math for this. This is a prequel to a future episode. Is a little oven, no insulation, so the entire thing gets very hot.
We bought that from Target.
That is correct. This was purchased from Target.
And we also stole the toaster from the list.
You don't tell nobody about that. This is a Kitchen Smith unit. Yeah, advantages, easier to clean, but the whole thing gets hot. So we're decimating more heat out. The idea is, it's summer here, and this is sort of a small house. So we have air conditioning, so cooking in the house, doing big elaborate things, making tamales in the house, no big deal, everything's fine. But when it's 100 degrees outside, and I'm adding all this heat in the house, it just sort of perturbs me to, one, to pay to cool the house, and then to pay to heat things inside the house. For the same reason we hang up clothes. By the way, it's your chore to hang up the clothes right now. We'll put the cookies in, then you hang up your clothes. So, the oven business. The idea was put less heat inside of the house. This is well insulated, but insulation just delays the inevitable of heat obtaining equilibrium. This heat is in here. It wants nothing else but to get outside and get equilibrium to the entire house. So although it's a more delayed thing, it's still adding this amount of heat to the house. However many cubic feet that is, it's some cubic feet. This I believe to be 1 cubic foot. This also kind of sucks in that the heat just goes everywhere. No insulation at all. Do the higher end ovens have insulation in the sides? And can we add insulation to the sides? So what do you cook on your cast iron pan? Everything. I mean, everything. So we got bacon going on here. They're over doing the bacon first so we can get a nice grease in the pan so we can cook eggs that were recently picked from our yard. But I've had to adjust. 3-5. Normally, with anything else, we're cooking at half heat, but it holds heat so well that we don't have to do that anymore. temperature is consistent. This changes how you cook entirely. Oh, the corn's done. Good. But other, I won't say advantages. This is a everything in kitchen sink sort of brunch. So we got potatoes in the bottom there. I tossed corn in at the top because we're going to put some corn in there. We're going to have some bacon. We have some cheese. We're going to have some eggs. But this is Reclaim Burger. So we've got a host of flavors here. Very meaty, hearty. You might even call it the hungry man's breakfast. But a host of different things here. But with the mixing and the overwhelming character is going to be this bacon grease. Everything should be cooked in bacon grease. The kids are a little weird about the eggs still. So how much egg can we put in and tell them that it's cheese? Well, this is a campfire style breakfast because this is a campfire style pan. It all makes sense here. So our mix here, we got our beef down here, and I said it was Reclaim, not really Reclaim. It was yum. Yeah, that was a burger. And in fact, there was already cheese on these things. And we got bacon here, we got our corn here. As soon as we mix all that, the kids heard me, so we can't put the eggs in yet. And since they fall apart when I pull them out, these potatoes, done. And we're going with a basic cheddar for our mix-in. Now, normally you would take this grease, and if you want, you need some greens in your diet. Not even some leaves. You could do broccoli in here, you could do mushrooms, you can do asparagus, anything. The only thing that makes those foods tolerable is if you cook it in bacon grease. And try not to lose any potatoes. Rolling. Product, and we got to get to crushing quick because it is still hot. Oh, nicely comes apart. Now for the mix. And like I said, eggs will be separate. I'm going to toss a little in there. They won't know the difference. Con queso. Mixed efficiently. Get that in there. And also, as it gets in there, it will melt the cheese. It's like we asked how many calories should this be, and the answer was yes. I'm using the wrong mixing utensil here. This is a Teflon pan. Now, I don't know how much a cast iron boiling pan is. Seasoning. This was Daly's bacon, so it comes pre-seasoned. It's actually a bit spicy, but with all the boiling that we've done to the corn and to the potatoes, and we're adding cheese and all these other elements, it's going to come across a little bit mild. We'll keep it simple. The garlic salt is my favorite, or if you want to go with the Montanan standard, the Alpine Touch. Although I find you need to use a lot more of it. Season. Go hog wild. Doing it one-handed presents some challenges. And yeah, I can smell that seasoning. Here, just get it nice churned a little bit and then get the other side. This will be the conclusion. Now, this entire time I've been talking about temperature drop on this. I boiled water in this previously. This is going to be our demonstration. I boiled water, forgot about it. This is what happens. This is destroyed. But for illustration purposes, we're going to compare what sort of temperature we drop when we put these at the exact same temperature and then put 2 cups of water in it. This is the Ultra Heat Power Boil. Power. And in a scientific shop here. Whoa, my phone's at 88.6. Oof. But with great mass comes longer heat times. Oh, already up to 100. Up to 120. And climbing. Interested to know, how hot is 5 on the stove? I mean, they have these weird measurements. Why does every stove have this, like a dial? There's all the way on, and there's numbers, and they seem arbitrary. The fridge does the same thing. There is a trigger in there. It is turning on as a temperature. The same thing as a stove. It is turning on and off. It's not actually, well, maybe modern fancy stoves with computer controls. This is a computer-controlled unit. But I think it's just on and off. I say that because I can hear it clicking on and off. Other advantages, even at 5, with these Teflon weirdly coated pans and whatever, if you leave this just at 5, it will burn off that coat and it will toxify your home. Not so much with the cast iron. And let's talk temperature difference so far. The cast iron's only up to 170. I look over here at this guy, 260. 620 is what it's coming in at. And interesting. The Power Boil is hotter? That's not going to be scientific enough. What we're going to do, we're going to run this for another 5 minutes. So this thing would have heated up for 5 minutes straight, which is what we want. We'll do the same for this. We'll get them to the same, allegedly the same temperature. We will see, because we're getting very different readings. Now, this does say Ultra Heat Power Boil on it. Does that mean something different and not tell you if there's intelligence, if there's sensors in this, if it's just turning that on and off on a cycle on a timer for number 5, or if it's measuring the temperature and turning on and off at a trigger point. I can't tell you which. Somebody else who can tell me what the peak of late 1990s digital oven technology. Somebody can tell me that, maybe. As I've pointed out, with this clicking on and off, the fact that we're not up to temperature yet tells me that instead of it reaching a temperature and measuring that temperature, that it's operating on a duty cycle. I don't know what the 5 duty cycle is. I know that's about halfway for heat. If I had to guess, this is just a duty cycle, which I can tell because you put a pan on the thing, and before it's heated up, you can hear it clicking on and off. 5 more minutes. We'll see what she's at, then we'll put our water in. Let's enjoy my laser thingy. We've got a notebook for notes. Bonus. We've got a 4-year-old. We'll let her draw on the book, and she will pick a random page to put her stuff on. And I try not to look forward at all, because later on in the future, whenever I get to that page, I can know the facts of the day and all this stuff, and I could see what she drew on some, of course, not dated. She might have been 3 years old when she did this. I couldn't tell you. Let's get our starting temp here. That is 412 degrees. We've got water at 65 degrees. Now, we will try to keep that right from the tap. It should be the same temperature for both. But this may change. These might not be at the same temperature. I am curious to know. And yes, I know we are grossly misusing our cast iron pan. Grossly misusing. Immediately, the temp is... Oh, there's a drop. We'll say 150. Let's go with that. And we are going to give it 2 minutes. That was such a big drop in temperature. So we know this oven and most ovens are not actually based on a temperature but a duty cycle. It is not compensating for that. With the mass of the pan, when you're looking to sear something and put something on and you want to get that high temp cook immediately rather than slowly bringing it up in a thing, but the cast iron's the only way to go because of the mass. This pan is probably beyond service and definitely needs to go. Soon, as soon as that flips over there. Come on. Come on. I know, not your favorite thing to watch probably, but this is for the science. Well, we're waiting. We're up to 180. So, while that is heating up, 1022 here, we'll give her the same 10 minutes. We got 180, so after 2 minutes, we only got an increase of 30 degrees. But look at that drop. 412 to 150 instantly. So we instantly lost 262 degrees and only gained back 30. That seems dramatic. We might need a better pan, a heftier pan, hefty, like those old Griswolds or whatever that haven't been made since the 50s, that you can never find. I've looked. I've been in this expedition for years. Now we're starting at 4:14, and as you can see, we did not need that 10 minutes to get up to temp here. 414. Our water is starting at 67, really close to what it was before. We'll write down that 68. Alright, the temperature 425 has gone up a bit. Top peak of 429, let's do 426. Now for the water business. Whoa! Amazing. And at 10:30 we'll check again. 150. Now for the exciting conclusion. I was a little worried about that. There is less mass here, both the only thing heating it up being the stove. Now I think there was more mass in here that was holding more heat that was still equilibriating whatever than there was in here. Because these are results. We lost more, which we expected. That makes sense to me. With the cast iron, we lost 262 degrees with the 2 cups of water. With the new junk, as is so labeled, we lost 308 degrees of cooking temperature. Now, looking at more of a drop. 40, 50 degrees? Close to 50 degrees gaining with the cast iron pan because of the mass. Now, for our 2-minute rise, we gained 30 degrees in the cast iron, and that was the one I was worried about. I thought it might actually beat it because there is less mass for the stove to heat back up. But with the smaller one, only 22 degrees. The cast iron beats it on heat retention when your cooking subject is put on the thing. Also beats it in the temperature rise. Now, the only explanation for that is there was more mass and we hadn't reached equilibrium, whatever. So, there is some credence to this, but not a lot. Because a refrigerated steak is not water. It's not the same. It's going to be much more difficult to measure that drop, and also much more expensive. We're talking steaks here, to measure that drop. But this 40-some degree, almost 40 degrees right here of additional temperature drop is going to make a difference in your searing for sure. You want to shock the steak and get those nice, crisp, shocked edges rather than bring it up slowly as like you're broiling it. You might as well cook it in the oven. We've committed some cast iron crimes here. We didn't season it, we did the water thing. Whatever. This is a Home Depot thing. This is not a special pan. I can get a new one today. Hey, it's me editing this very video that you're gonna see. This will be your conclusion. Whichever. End video. But we're doing something different. YouTube was once like the best of the community. It was somebody with a camcorder, somebody with a phone, whichever. And it was, you were seeing reality. It was the reality TV that was like better than reality TV because that's all fake anyway. It was better than that. You had a looking glass into people's lives, into what they wanted to share. And that sort of spark has been lost on me. It's now high production values. There's fancy B-roll. We're using $10,000 cameras to shoot a YouTube video. How ridiculous is that? This is a phone. I use it for phone calls. So if this is the sort of thing, I wouldn't say it's a fresh new take. I think we're getting back to the original. Because the original intent of YouTube was this sort of social sharing, coming into somebody's life, somebody's kitchen in this case, and somebody's car, to see what real life was like for people. So, if that's your thing, you know what to do. I don't need to beg